I'll work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as those who did.
Today, all eyes on the election and its winner.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Multiple news outlets breaking the news earlier today.
And that means we can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected President of the United States,
giving Biden the electoral votes needed to win the election, causing celebrations nationally and right here in mid-Missouri. And protests.
Everything about this whole thing is a sham.
Along with the president's statement calling the results unfair and far from over. But that didn't hold back the congratulations from near.
I'm happy that I'm happy.
And far.
Finally, Joe Biden will be the president.
And generations young and old saying it inspires them.
I think that she's really going to help America for the next 4 years.
This is KOMU 8 News at 9.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News on Mid-Missouri CW starts now.
In the last hour, Joe Biden addressed the nation as president-elect for the first time. Good evening, everyone. I'm Noah Klein. Thanks for joining us. NBC News made the projection earlier today after calling Pennsylvania in favor of the former vice president. Our reporters have been working all day to bring you the latest on the announcement. We'll talk about how people celebrated or disagreed with the projection, plus how local community leaders are reacting as well. We start tonight with Joe Biden's speech. Tonight in Wilmington, Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris addressed the nation as they declared winning the presidential election. Both thanked voters for their efforts and patience in this election.
Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African-American community stood up again for me.
Biden says his first act as president-elect will be to name scientific advisors and experts to lead coronavirus response. Meanwhile, President Trump is back at the White House tonight after a day of playing golf and finding out multiple news agencies have projected he lost a bid for re-election. Today, the president signaled that he has no intention of conceding the race and announced in a written statement that his campaign will move forward with a legal fight. Today, people around mid-Missouri say they are inspired as Senator Kamala Harris is on the way to the White House as the first black and South Asian American woman to become vice president. KOMU 8's Alyssa Jackson talked to people around the community. Alyssa, how are people reacting?
Emotions were running high today. This girl here, she's 8 years old, and she wears Converse just because Kamala wore them throughout the campaign. All day I've been hearing from black mothers, fathers, and activists just about how Harris's victory is a sense of relief and that this is the moment that a lot of black people will never forget.
Madam Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
Every woman around the world, every little girl around the world should be smiling right now.
I never thought I'd be alive to see the day that a black man was president.
Those feelings are even stronger as he thinks about his daughter.
Kamala Harris being elected vice president gives girls like my daughter not just a goal to reach for, but gives them a mirror-like image of what they can accomplish.
I think that she's really going to help America for the next 4 years.
Harris's win is a historic moment, but activists say her actions will speak louder.
I'm from the show me state, so you still got to show me.
We still got to keep beating at the pavement. I mean, it's yes, Kamala is now there, and we see the light. But I think that it's still a whole lot of work to be done.
People around the community shared with me that Kamala Harris's win, just like President Obama's in 2008, proves that it's possible for black girls and boys to be represented in powerful positions. The community is hopeful that change will happen. In the studio, Alyssa Jackson, KOMU 8 News.
Alyssa, thank you very much. Groups gathered today in support and in protest of Joe Biden being projected as the 46th president. In Columbia, a group of supporters was outside City Hall this afternoon. And in Jefferson City, a group gathered disagreeing with the projection. KOMU 8's Sarah Moyers will tell us more about that group in just a minute here. But first, KOMU 8's Matt McCabe joins us live from City Hall in Columbia. And Matt, is anyone still there?
There are not any people out here right now, but the group I spoke with earlier today first gathered at around 3 p.m. And while no Trump supporters were standing outside City Hall, some did drive by and exchange shouts with the Biden group. The group I spoke with were all high school seniors and a year behind voting eligibility. They said celebrating in front of City Hall was their way of participating in democracy.
I feel like a lot of things are going to be different for the better. And there's going to be a lot of things that have needed to be fixed for a long time that will have some change coming.
The group said they were also celebrating Kamala Harris, who would not only be the first woman vice president, but also the first black and South Asian American vice president. Noah, back to you.
Matt, thank you very much. And KOMU 8's Sarah Moyers is live in Jefferson City, where there was a very different kind of event. Sarah, what did you see today?
Noah, protesters gathered here earlier today following Joe Biden's predicted win. Now they voiced their support for Trump and challenged the legitimacy of the presidential election. Protesters marched from the Capitol to outside the governor's mansion earlier today, and this rally was a part of a larger call to action across the country. Similar protests occurred nationwide, many in state capitals too. Many protesters held signs saying "Stop the Steal," implying the election was stolen from Trump.
I'm not willing to just accept it and lay down, and they've already taken enough of our liberties. I think if we don't stand now, we'll fall to communism later.
Now, even though this protest took place here in the state capitol, many of the protesters from earlier come from all across the state. The man you just heard from drove 4 hours just to be here today. Reporting live in Jefferson City, Sarah Moyers, KOMU 8 News.
Sarah, thank you very much. Supporters of President Donald Trump and Joe Biden faced off at the Colorado State Capitol following the 2020 presidential election results today. Biden supporters gathered on the Capitol lawn this morning and were met by supporters of President Trump around noon. A Colorado State Patrol spokesperson says state troopers were deployed in a line between the two groups, which were yelling at each other. Authorities say there has been no violence.